Got it. All right. So, just a few notes about our service this evening, because I know we have some visitors. All of the prayers that we're going to be doing are on the screen in front of you, or there are some prayer books. They should be either in the seat backs in front of you or underneath the seats in the pews. The one benefit that I've kind of thoughtfully realized over the last couple of weeks when we have had guests is that some of the prayers that are on the screen are going to be written in Hebrew and transliterated into English characters, so that if you wanted to read and follow along, you could, but if you don't know Hebrew, you won't understand what they are. The words in translation are also in the prayer book, so if you'd like to follow along with the screen and with the prayer book, you are welcome to do that. I'll be calling out page numbers throughout the service. All of the prayers that we say are hopefully written such that people who are not from a Jewish background will hopefully feel comfortable participating in the service. So please feel free to join in. Our custom here is to kind of say all of the prayers and sing the prayers together. The last little note is I'll be inviting people at various points to rise and be seated, and I'm inviting people to rise either in body or in spirit as you're comfortable. So with that, we are going to begin our service on page 126. I begin with a prayer of gratitude for all that is holy in my life. God needs no words, no English or Hebrew, no semantics and no services, but I need them. Through prayer, I can sense my inner strength, my inner purpose, my inner joy, my capacity to love. As I reach upward in prayer, I sense these qualities in my Creator. To love God is to love each other, to work to make our lives better. To love God is to love the world God created and to help work to perfect it. To love God is to love dreams of peace and joy that illumine all of us and to bring that vision to life. And we'll continue on page 128 with these words from the book of Psalms, Hine matov umanaim shevet achim gam yachad, how good it is that all of us can be together. Hine matov umanaim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov umanaim shevet achim gam yachad. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. Hinei matov umanaim shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei matov umanaim shevet achim gam yachad. We'll continue in song on page 130. Staying within the book of Psalms, Psalm 95 and 96, Lechu Neranana, giving thanks to God for the beauty of creation. Lechu Neranana, Yai Lai 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 Lai, Ladonai, Yai Lai 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 Lai, Naria, Yai Lai Lai books. And we'll continue welcoming Shabbat with the words of this medieval poem, Lechato D. If you're looking in the prayer books, we'll join together in singing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9, which are all of the verses that are on the screen. And as we reach the final verse, we'll rise to face the entryway to welcome Shabbat like a bride or a queen. So page 138.
Ya la 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 melody. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la.
We'll continue with another welcoming poem, Shalom Aleichem, which is a poem welcoming the ministering angels of peace to join us in our time together to hopefully bring with them a sense of Shabbat peace to give us as we move into Shabbat. Shalom Aleichem is on page 142.
Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Asharim, Malachei Elyonim, Melech Malchei Hamlachim, Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Olchem Shalom Malachei Hashalom. Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Olchem Shalom Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyonim, Melech Malchei Hamlachim, Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Asharim, Malachei Elyonim, Melech Malchei Hamlachim, Hakadosh Baruch Hu.
We'll continue kindling the Shabbat lights on page 120. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we by our lives give light to all who behold us, as their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kishanu b'mitzvotav mitzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
We'll continue transitioning to the section of the service called the Shema, the blessings, on page 144 with the Chatzikash. Yitkadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah
Ve'alma divra chirute v'yamlich malchute b'chayechon uvyomechon u'chayedecho Beit Yisrael bagala uvizman kariv ve'imeru amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevorach le'alam ulam me'almaya yitbarach ve'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal shemei de kedusha brichu leila min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran be'alma be'imeru amen. We'll rise for our call to prayer on page 146. Continue on page 148. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Boreyon Malayla Kolelor Mibne Choshech Kolelor Mibne Choshech Vechoshech Mibne Yom. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Boreyon Malayla Kolelor Mibne Choshech Kolelor Mibne Choshech Vechoshech Mibne Yom. On page 150 at the bottom. Everlasting love you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments, We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. We'll rise together for Shema, on page 152 and 153. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto, Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto, Leolam Va'ed. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Please be seated. We'll continue on page 154. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol meodecha v'hayu ha'devarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha V'dibarta bam, b'shivtecha b'beitecha, u'b'lechtecha v'derech, u'shochbecha u'vkumecha, u'kshartam leot al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha, u'chtavtam al mezuzot beitecha, u'visharecha. Leman tizkeru vasitem et kol mitzvotai v'hitem kedoshim lelohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim lihiot lachem lelohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem. Continuing on the bottom of page 157. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea. We'll continue on page 158. We join together in Mi Chamocha, our prayer for freedom and redemption for all people. Continue with our prayer, Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Shalom. May God's sheltering peace spread over us this evening and every evening. We'll continue with the centerpiece of our service, the tefillah, as we rise together. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanorah, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocher Chasei Avot V'imahot, U'mevi Geula Livnei V'neihem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Be'ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechaye HaKol atah Rav Le'Hoshia, Mechalkel Chaim B'Chesed, Mechaye HaKol Be'Rachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Be'Ropeh Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Nishenei Afar, Michamocha Baal Geburot, Umido Melach, Melech Memit Umechaye, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah lehachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechaye hakol. Please be seated. Exciting. I think. Camera on too. Yeah, that's okay. All right.
Yana emsacha mekom chanala v'nela v'nalo emsacha kevorcha malei olam Yana emsacha mekom chanala v'nela v'nalo emsacha kevorcha malei olam Darashti kirvatcha b'chol libi Iraticha u'tzeiti likratcha lekati etzaticha
Where might I go to find you, O exalted and hidden one? Yet where would I not go to find you, ever-present, eternal one? My heart cries out to you, please draw near to me. The moment I reach out for you, I find you reaching in for me. Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh. Continue on page 173 at the top. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. And on page 175 at the bottom, you are with us in our prayer, our love and our doubt, and our longing to feel your presence and do your will. You are the still clear voice within us. Therefore, O God, when doubt troubles us, when anxiety makes us tremble, when pain clouds the mind, we look inward for the answer to our prayers. There may we find you, and there find courage, insight, and endurance. And let our worship bring us closer to one another, that all Israel and all who seek you may find new strength for your service. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otcha levadcha b'yira na'avod. On page 177, God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth which day by day sustains us. For all these and more we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha u'lecha na'el lehodot. We'll continue with the prayer for peace, Shalom Rav, on page 178.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov beinecha levareich et amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. We'll continue with a moment for our own quiet thoughts and prayers. Yehiyu leratzon imrefi vehegyon libi lefanecha. Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri, begoali, begoali. Yehiyu leratzon imrefi vehegyon libi lefanecha. Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri, begoali, begoali. We take the next few moments in our service to hold in our hearts those of our friends and their families, our family members and loved ones who are in need of a prayer of healing. If there is anyone on Zoom who has a name of someone who they're thinking of, and you'd like to type it in the chat, I'll read it out loud in a moment. And as I look your way in the sanctuary, if there is someone you're thinking of, please feel free to share as well.
Melissa Katz from Nashville.
Esther Greenwald, Lauren Trichek, Roz Gibel, Danny Haynes, Pat Adamson. We say Baruch Atah Adonai Rofeh HaCholim. Blessed is God who brings healing to those who are in need of a prayer of healing. We'll continue on page 371 as we sing Misha Berach. Misha Berach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishe Berach Imotenu Mekor HaBracha Le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. As I was exploring ideas to share with you for this Shabbat, I found a couple of really interesting resources, and that kind of like meshed well with what one of the things that I've been kind of reading on my own that's not for work. There is an organization called the Hartman Institute, which I like to follow, and they produce a seasonal scholarly publication, which I think now is mostly distributed online. But their scholars cover a variety of topics, and this one happens to be titled Our Technology Sickness and How to Heal It. And I don't usually find sermon inspiration from these kinds of articles, but I thought it was interesting in part because as if you were here last week, you know that we're kind of in the midst of a section in the Torah that is all about an ancient and obscure skin ailment called tzara'at in Hebrew. And this week's Torah portion, which is called Mitzorah, is essentially all about how to heal, to go about the healing process after a person is afflicted from this what the Torah calls a plague. We don't think it's a disease, even though most English translations of the Hebrew Bible will sometimes translate it as leprosy. It's not really leprosy. It's not actually nothing like it's a disease. That leprosy is as like we know it to exist. But anyway, our technology sickness and how to heal it. He really focuses, so the article was written by Micah Goodman, who is a research fellow at the Hartman Institute. And he's written a number of books about how people have kind of lost the ability to communicate effectively with each other when they're not in similar ideological camps already. So he's written about, in Israel, the difference between the secular Israelis and ultra-Orthodox. He's written about people and the political right and left in the United States. He's written about a variety of contexts. And one of the things that he begins kind of with is this ancient idea in Jewish tradition of what is essentially called machloket l'shem shemayim, the idea that the idealized form of ideological and intellectual conversation is when you have a strong enough sense of who you are that you can argue with an opponent who is ideologically different from you and maintain not only a sense of authenticity in yourself and in your argument, but that you may also maintain respect for the counter opinion, which I think is really, is actually a primary Jewish value to kind of maintain that level of discourse. And it's one of the reasons why historically Jews have valued a series of books that are called the Talmud as opposed to only using the Torah as our source of kind of religious life inspiration. So within that framework, he kind of brings up two things. The first is, actually he brings up three things, but I'm only going to mention two. The first thing is that I think is interesting, that one of the things that our technology affords us is the ability to have basically an endless stream of choices in terms of the media that we consume. However, one of the things that modern science has kind of proven through social experiments and any variety of research projects is that the more choices we have as human beings, the more likely we are to default to the position that we already hold. That is, if you've ever been hungry and you are bombarded with choices of restaurants to go to, the most likely choice that you will make at the end of a conversation is the one that you've gone to most often before because it's comfortable and not because it challenges you in any way. Technology takes that concept and magnifies it to the nth degree. And so we ultimately find ourselves in platforms like Facebook or other social media platforms, choosing more often than not to read the media that we find that agrees with the preconceived ideas that we already hold. And more we find ourselves either distrusting or disliking or viewing people with other opinions than our own as enemies rather than ideological opponents who we have respect for. One of the really interesting, so I've been reading for my own self-indulgence a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which is like one of the top financial selling books of the last 30 years. I think it was written, I think, 20 years ago. But one of the most fascinating parts of the entire book, and one of the things that I think actually it holds within it a really kind of powerful Jewish value, is the author of the book does in several instances mentions George Soros and Donald Trump in the same sentence. I'm not going to say exactly what for, but both in all of the instances where he does, he mentions them as people worthwhile to learn from, which I think is fascinating and something that our culture, by and large today, has done away with. We say that a person who is ideologically on the opposite end of our spectrum is not worth learning from at all. And that is antithetical to Jewish tradition and teaching. The second thing that I want to point out from this article, which I think was really interesting, is this idea that technology has made us all more available, but it has taken away our ability to pay attention. That we have given ourselves or given people around us access to ourselves in a way that is unprecedented in human history. That anytime someone wants to, if you have a cell phone, someone can call you, and the expectation today is that you will get back to that person within 24 hours, or at least that's what used to be the expectation. But as time goes on, more and more the expectation is that you get back to a person within an hour. And a recent study suggested or showed a finding, I should say, that 80% of email correspondence in a professional setting begin with the sentence, "I'm sorry, I've been delayed in responding to you." And with the same the same, within that context, when we allow ourselves to be so open and available, we diminish the effectiveness that we have in finding empathy for other people and our ability to pay attention in the moment when we're in the middle of a conversation. So not only have we lost the ability in some sense because of our delving deeply into technology, the ability to communicate with other people effectively who have differing opinions, and have gained a kind of mistrust for those people in a way that Judaism kind of finds antithetical. We have also, through making ourselves available and having this kind of unlimited access, have also lost the ability to find the kind of intimacy within personal relationships where we have the ability to pay attention to another person without worrying about what's going on in our pocket if we carry our phone in our pocket, or what's going on in our email, or whoever is trying to reach us in the moment. We're more concerned about missing a phone call than we are about what the person who's right in front of us is saying. So what's the solution that Micah Goodman suggests in his article? And he says, he uses actually the story of David and Goliath as an example. And I'm going to ask you, because I'm interested to hear, how does David defeat Goliath? So everyone knows the story as Goliath being felled by a single stone, but the moment of victory is actually when David takes Goliath's sword and uses it against him. So Micah Goodman suggests in this article that we have the ability to not let technology outsmart us, that we can use technology in order to allow ourselves to engage in other technology effectively, that we have the ability to look at and diagnose our sickness in the same way that the priests were sent to diagnose the sickness of this person who had tzara'at in ancient days. And we have the ability to implement tools to kind of refocus ourselves, to take things like the settings on your iPhone, for example, that allow you to set screen time limits. Or we can have in our email as a signature line, I will do my best to get back to you in a certain amount of time, and change the way we frame expectations about response and attentiveness in our culture, which I think is really can be really powerful, but can only work if we bring them to the attention of the people who we're communicating with in an effort to show that we're trying to be more empathetic and more attentive to the needs of the moment, as opposed to thinking about what's next always. So it's my hope on this Shabbat that we can find within our tradition these kinds of solutions to mend our relationships, whether they are relationships that have been broken because of political ideology, or relationships that have been broken because of our difficulty in finding this kind of attentiveness for each other, and that we work always to be better ourselves in that way and to strengthen our relationships with other people. And with that, I will wish you another Shabbat Shalom. We're going to continue our service with Aleinu on page 586, and I'll invite people to please rise.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon ha'kol, b'tei v'dulal yotzer breshit, shelo asanu kigoyeh haratzot, v'lo zamanu k'mishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, v'goraleinu kechol hamonam. V'anavnu korim u'mishtachavim u'modim livnei melech malchei hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
We'll continue on page 591. May we gain wisdom in our lives, overflowing like a river with understanding, loved each of us for the peace we bring to others. May our deeds exceed our speech, and may we never lift up our hand but to conquer fear and doubt and despair. Rise up like the sun, O God, over all humanity. Cause light to go forth over all the lands between the seas, and light up the universe with the joy of wholeness, of freedom, and of peace. V'nemar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo We take a few moments now to hold in our hearts those who we honor, their memories, those we have loved and lost. On this Shabbat, we are in a period of Shloshim for Madeline Foss and Nehemiah Persoff. We also hold in our hearts those for whom the Shabbat in the previous week were a yahrzeit or an anniversary of their death. Evelyn Vessier Geismar, Stephen Klein, Jack Neckman, Sam Wallace, Celia Lipson, Victor Baum, Florence Jacobson, Sandra Katz, Sylvia Galub Schlein, Doris Stein, Albert D. Bland, Anne Ruth Kohler, Jean Sugarman, and Anne Sostrom. If there are loved ones, how do I? There it is, thank you. If you have a loved one who you're holding in your hearts, who you would like to have us say their name to remember for Kaddish on Zoom, and you'd like to put their name in the chat, I'll read them aloud in a moment. And if there's a name of someone in the sanctuary that you'd like to mention as I look your way, please do. We say, Zichronam livracha, may the memory of our loved ones who came before us be a blessing. We'll turn to page 598 as we rise together for Mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, ve'alma divrach irutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon u'vyomechon uv'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, Ba'gala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mebarach le'olam u'ameh omaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shmei dekedusha b'richu le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata v'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. May the one who creates peace in the heavens on high bring peace to us here on earth, to all people of Israel and all people of the world. And may God send comfort to all those who are mourning. Together we say, amen. Please be seated. We have a few announcements. If you happen to look at our social hall behind those walls right there, you'll see that we are set up already actually for Sunday's festivities. Balalaika Fantasy Concert. The Balalaika Fantasy will be playing here on Sunday, April 10th. That's this Sunday at 3:00 p.m. Balalaika Fantasy's music consists of Ukrainian and Russian and Gypsy and Jewish folk music. And one of the musicians is from Russia and another is from Ukraine. And so before any of the crazy conflict that's going on right now even started, we were planning to bring this group in, but now that it is happening, the idea that we have musicians playing together from those places is a really powerful thing. And I hope that if you're able to join us, you will. Before this announcement, so Passover begins next Friday evening, and so you should have seen in our e-news, if you get our e-news, that we actually are not having services next Friday night because it's the first night Seder, and actually, it's one Passover is a rabbinic holiday where the rabbis envisioned that everyone would celebrate at home, and it's only kind of a recent phenomenon that we have like community Seders at all. But so I hope that people have a Seder to go to on next Friday night. There will not be services Friday night, but we are going to have a service on Saturday morning, a festival morning service, a short festival morning service. And then we're inviting people starting at 11 a.m. And we're inviting people to bring a picnic lunch with them. So we'll do this, depending on how the weather is, we'll do the service either outside or in the sanctuary, and we can eat in the social hall or outside, again, depending on how things are. But I think it's the first time in our congregation's 107-year history that we'll have done a Passover morning service. So, because that's not typically something the Reform movement has done. So anyway, it should be nice, and I hope people will join us. On Tuesday, April 19th at 7:30 p.m., we will be have our next Zoom book club meeting where we will discuss The Man in the White Sharkskin Suit, which is a really interesting look into life in Cairo in the 40s through the 60s, and all of the joy and struggles of this particular family. I think I'm now 4 hours into the 12-hour book, and it is an interesting family story. So even if you haven't read the book or are not finished with the book, you should still consider joining us because all of our conversations have been interesting. The following Sunday, April 24th, we are having a temple mitzvah day. We're going to kick off the morning with our religious school family service at 9:30, and then 10 o'clock, the work will begin, planting flowers, doing yard cleanup work, cleaning out places inside the temple, and all sorts of other tasks will be added, I'm sure, as we get closer to this event. Taking care of our spiritual home is a really important thing to do. And as we wrap the day up together at noon, there will be a food truck, which is going to be free of charge, but donations are always appreciated. So that's at noon. So even if you're not able to come to help with the cleanup, you can still come for the food truck. And we'll also be having a food drive to support United Ministries food pantry. So again, even if you're not able to help clean up, if you wanted to bring some non-perishable food items to fill up Roger's trailer so that we can take it to United Ministries, that would be wonderful. And last but not least, there's kind of a once in a lifetime opportunity to see and hear a program called Violins of Hope at the Peace Center, which is going to be on May 4th, 2020. Violins of Hope was an organization started by a father and son team from Bulgaria who received and refurbished violins that were confiscated from Jewish families during the Holocaust. And now they have a really elaborate program with Bulgarian artists and dancers and musicians, along with local musicians who are going to put on this really cool program with these violins. Again, it's on May 4th at the Peace Center at 7:30. I have no idea if tickets are still available, but I'm hoping that the temple will have a good showing because this really is a very very cool program, and it took a lot of work to get it to come to Greenville. So I hope that we take advantage of the opportunity. All right, we are going to begin the process of concluding our service by saying Kiddush, blessing this day, and saying the blessing for our children and Motzi, and then we'll conclude. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri ha'gafen l'chaim. And blessing for our children. Shabbat shalom. Whether you are sitting next to your children at home, or if you are just holding your children in your heart, these words of blessing are for them. Yisimcha Elohim ke'Ephraim v'chi Menashe. May you be blessed like the children of Joseph, Ephraim, and Menashe. Yisimech Elohim ke'Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, v'Leah. May you be blessed like the mothers of our people, like Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah. We wish for all of our children to be proud of who they are and also strive to be the best version of themselves with these words of blessing from the Torah. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless you and keep you. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka. May God's light shine on you and be gracious to you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God's presence always be close to you, and may you always be blessed with the most precious gifts of wholeness and peace. And we say together, Amen. And say Motzi. Motzi lechem min haaretz. We give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together. As our joyful prayer is said, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Pass around the challah after service. We are going to conclude now, singing another prayer for peace, Oseh Shalom, which is on page 598.
Oh, say shalom, b'shalom, say shalom, aleinu, be'amo Yisrael, ve'imeru amen. Oh, say shalom,
Shabbat shalom, everyone. I'm gonna try to allow everyone to unmute. All right. You should all be able to unmute if you'd like. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Where is my boyfriend? Well,